an ever-familiar trio making decisions that will shape all our lives. And today, the grimmest warning to date.
This is the worst public health crisis for a generation. Some people compare it to seasonal flu. Alas, that is not right. Owing to the lack of immunity, this disease is more dangerous and it's going to spread further. And I must level with you, level with the British public. More families, many more families are going to lose loved ones before their time.
Ministers were summoned to a special Whitehall meeting to approve a landmark decision. The UK will move to the second stage of its response to coronavirus. A step change, but a cautious one. Anyone who shows symptoms, a continuous cough or a high temperature must now stay at home for 7 days. In the coming weeks, all elderly and vulnerable people will be advised to stay at home regardless of whether they show any symptoms. This could last for 3 months. No school closures and no ban on large gatherings outside Scotland, though that will be kept under review. Modest moves compared to the lockdown in Italy, the closing of schools and universities in France, and similar measures in Ireland.
We've not witnessed a pandemic of this nature in living memory, and this is uncharted territory for us.
It is to delay.
The government's senior scientist explained the difference in approach. Drastic action should only be introduced at the optimal time, and there could be an upside to healthy people developing the virus. They would build up antibodies.
It's not possible to stop everybody getting it, and it's also actually not desirable because you want some immunity in the population. We need to have immunity to protect ourselves from this in the future.
With government scientists in the lead, opposition parties have been generally supportive of Boris Johnson. But there are now early signs of unease about the stark difference in approach to coronavirus between the UK and our nearest neighbours.
If I would have been fortunate enough to have won the general election and become the health secretary, we would be following the medical advice. So I don't criticise the government for following the medical advice, but I think they need to be clearer in explaining why Ireland is taking one approach, or the Republic of Ireland is taking one approach, but the United Kingdom is taking a different approach. Because if we don't get that clarity, I think we're going to concern a lot of people and we could panic a lot of people. So I really hope the government can come forward and explain in more detail why we are adopting the strategy we are adopting.
So one of the things we learnt today is that the government's trying to create herd immunity to protect the population. In the absence of a vaccination, that means that the healthy part of the population should get the virus to develop antibodies, but the vulnerable section, the elderly, you would want to cocoon them during this period. What do you think of that?
Well, I'm not an epidemiologist, so it's not for me to comment on the science of that. But that is the theory that we are being presented with, and indeed the argument about China, as I understand it, is having locked so many of the population of Wuhan down. There's a worry that now they're coming out of lockdown that the epidemic will spike again in China. That is the concern. But as I say, I'm not an epidemiologist, so I won't comment on that. But clearly, if we are asking elderly people at some point in this pandemic to isolate themselves for 13 or 14 weeks, that has huge social implications.
A sombre mood as Britain takes a big step in its coronavirus journey. It will be the first of many.